This week's Parsha is Parshas Vayikra, and this week's video is sponsored L'Ilu Nishmas Reb Chaim Yosef ben Reb Yaakov. The Parsha talks all about the karbanos, the sacrifices that are brought in the Beis HaMikdash, and one of the karbanos, the karban oila, that is brought completely up to Kadosh Baruch Hu. There's a difference between the karban oila of a cattle, of a behema, and of a bird. The cattle, the entire animal is burned, including the insides. However, a bird, the insides are removed and thrown to the corner before the karban is brought up to Hashem. The question is why? So Rashi brings down the medrash that says that since cattle, when they graze in their owner's yard, they have a fence, and they can't go to the neighbor's yard and steal from their food, but a bird can fly, and it flies over fences and it goes all around and steals from other neighbors' yards, picking up pieces of food from all over the world. And therefore, since a bird has taken from gezel, from stolen matter, that cannot be brought up on the Mizbeach. That stolen goods have no place in the Beis HaMikdash. The Alshech explains a fascinating insight as to why this subject, this specific idea, was brought only by the karban oila of a bird and not by anywhere else, to teach us this lesson. A poor person is usually the one bringing a karban of a bird. Most people that can afford, people that have means, could bring a karban of cattle. They don't need to resort to bringing a bird karban because they can afford more. But a poor person doesn't have anything else. The only thing they can afford is a bird. So the Torah is teaching us an invaluable lesson to the poor person. You may think that you're poor and you have no money and you can't afford anything, so you have to steal. You have to resort to being a thief and stealing from other people to gain your livelihood and support your family. No matter what, no matter how destitute you are, you're still not allowed to steal. So much so that the bird you're going to bring, if its insides have food that was stolen, it's not allowed to be brought up in the Mizbeach. That's the lesson it taught me. Similarly, the Alter from Slobodka, Rav Nosson Tzvi Finkel Zatzal, used to say that if two people are learning very loudly next to each other, and they're disturbing a third person, it's stealing. Stealing? What are we doing? We're learning Torah, we're doing a mitzvah. Says the Alter from Slobodka, that just because you have something so precious, you have diamonds that are sparkling and they're gorgeous, that doesn't give you a right to throw it at somebody else. Just because you have something valuable, you're doing a mitzvah, you're learning Torah, doesn't mean you could trample on somebody else. This week's parsha starts with the word Vayikra, with a small aleph. The inyan of the aleph is very fascinating, because the letter tzaddik has a tzaddik is a nun with a little yud on top. So the early Sfarim say that this hints to a tzaddik being a person that's carrying a yud on its shoulder, that's carrying other yidden on top of him. That's what tzaddikim do. They help other people. So the question is, Reb Melech Biderman asked, if a tzaddik is a nun with a yud on top, the aleph is a vav with a yud on top and a yud on bottom. So why isn't the aleph also called a tzaddik? Says Reb Melech Biderman, because although the aleph has a yud on top, it's also standing on a yud on bottom. A tzaddik doesn't help others while trampling on others. It only helps others, tries to bring people up. And we have to inculcate this lesson that while we're doing a mitzvah, it should be l'shem shemayim and not trampling on somebody else to get there. Have a beautiful Shabbos.